Hello, everyone. My name is Will Hinkey. Hey, everybody. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for jumping on the call today. We're gonna knock out some pretty cool stuff today, and I'm gonna do my best to have it done in an hour or less. But I've got a lot of really cool things to share with everyone. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump in. Once again, thanks for being on the training today. And by the way, I will send out a replay link to this afterwards. So if you're trying to frantically take notes or miss something, no worries. I am taping this to YouTube, and I will have this back out to you shortly thereafter. So let's jump in and talk about the 7 steps to a badass marketing funnel. So typical marketing funnel looks something like this. There's the awareness, the consideration, and the conversion stages of any sort of transaction with any customer. First, you have to get them aware of you. Then they have to consider doing business with you. And then, of course, they have to have a conversion, which could be a purchase or a sign up for a newsletter or whatever it happens to be. So these are the kind of things we're going to go through today. And in total, we're actually going to do 4 steps. So I want to teach you about each of these different steps as we go, and then I want to tell you about an in-depth training opportunity that I'm going to be doing later on in another couple weeks. So if you have any questions, by the way, over in I think it's in the top right hand corner of your screen probably is a little area where you can type in chat, or you can type in a question, and I am going to cover everybody's questions at the end of the training today. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in there, and I will definitely get to them at the end of the training today. So one of the things that is the most important for any business is getting people aware of your business in the first place. The top of the funnel, or TOFU, is the most important part. Once you have people in the funnel, it's a little bit easier to get them to do something, but getting them into the funnel in the first place is probably the most difficult part. So I wanted to make sure we spent some good time on that, and then we'll get through all the 7 steps to building your funnel. So the first step is obviously to get an audience. Now, this is, once again, the hardest part. So I've broken it up into 4 different things that we can talk about today. First of all, know your target market. Secondly, the design of your website. Thirdly, search engine optimization and conversion rate optimization. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then on-site content, or ways that you can create content that will help you get a bigger audience. So let's jump in and talk about how to get this audience straight into your funnel. That's exactly what we want, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do that. Now, we'll talk again about SEO in a minute. There's also ads. There's pay-per-click ads. There's Facebook ads. And even when we're not talking about online, there's radio, there's TV, there's billboards. There's lots of ways to get people into your funnel or get them aware of your business. Social media is another great way that, depending on what your business is, social might be a great way to get people engaged with your business. Videos, not a lot of people are doing videos, but YouTube is the number 2 search engine. It's a lot bigger than Yahoo and Bing combined. And of course, we know who owns YouTube, and that's Google. I almost said GoDaddy. So video is a terrific way to really get some people to notice your business. And we could even say the last 2 are starting to be combined, social and video, with things like Meerkat and Periscope. Periscope is something that's owned by Twitter, and you can actually broadcast live, and it tweets out to your followers, and people see exactly what you're doing. And this can be used in a lot of different business situations as well. If you're wanting to give people a more intimate look at how your business runs, things of that sort. So target audience. Target audience is something everybody talks about, and maybe not a lot of people talk about it in depth, but it's very important that you segment all the different possible people that could be coming to your website or could be doing business with you. I've actually heard stories of companies like Adobe, which is huge. When they get into a meeting and they sit down, they say, okay, who are we talking about? Are we talking about Omar? Are we talking about Sally? And that way, everything that they design from that point forward is in Sally's best interest. So they have these personas already created. And it's definitely something that should not be overlooked when you're creating who is going to be purchasing from me, or who is going to be engaging me in my services, things of that sort. Now, one thing that we can do is I have created a 2-page document which you can download for free at bit.ly/RCM personas. And here's a snapshot of the first part of it, but it starts to get you thinking about the different things that are going on in that person's life, what's affecting them, what does their average day look like? And then at the end of the 2-page document, it asks you to give them a name. And I definitely think that is important, that you have names for each of the people, so that when you're considering changes to whatever it is on the website or whatever it is in any sort of marketing campaign you're doing, that you take each of those people into consideration and make the right changes accordingly. So that's a free document. You can download it. It goes to a Google Doc, and you can grab that, print it out, fill it out. You might have to do it 2 or 3 or 4 times, depending on how many different segments you have or different types of purchasers you have. But definitely go ahead and grab that and print that out. Next, let's talk a little bit about design. Now, there's not a lot I have to say about some of these. It's pretty obvious that they're a little bit crazy, maybe not the best in the world. This one's my favorite here, lingscars.com. I think there's even some music that starts playing when you go to it. So, I don't have to say a whole lot about this. If your design isn't conducive to whatever you're trying to sell, and makes people feel good and feel comfortable about it, then you may want to consider trying something different. Here's a couple that I pulled out that I thought were really nice looking and very calming, soothing. I get what they're up to. I'm not a designer, and I don't claim to be, but I think something has to be said for having a really nice looking website. So if you think that maybe you need some sort of redesign, there's a couple sites that you can use. One of them is called Template Monster. And if you're using Joomla or Magento or WordPress or some sort of a CMS system, then this might be a great place where you can go and see what kind of other templates are out there, and grab something that maybe you can modify slightly to really boost your business, boost your website, make it look a little nicer. My favorite is called themeforest.net. And they have a ton of not free themes, a ton of themes out there. Typically, they're not terribly expensive, to do. And you can look for WordPress. You can type in that you only want responsive themes, which are mobile-friendly type themes. A lot of different things you can do when it comes to grabbing a theme that maybe makes a little bit more sense for you. So definitely check those 2 websites out. And there's other ones as well. There are some free theme type websites as well, but typically you get what you pay for. A lot of those aren't supported. There's no updates. When WordPress or your CMS updates their system, that might break that theme if it's not one that's updated often. So definitely consider using one that's well supported and updated often. So the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was SEO. And I'm not going to get into it really deep because this isn't about SEO. This is more about marketing funnel. There's lots of moving parts when it comes to SEO, but I did want to just show you one quick thing, and that's my favorite command, the site colon command. So what you could do with this is just pull up Google or Yahoo or Bing and type in site colon, and then whatever your domain name is into there. Don't use any spaces. Don't use anything special. Just, use it as one long blurb. And what that does is that asks the search engines, hey, what do you know about this particular domain? And they'll come back with, some results from your site, and hopefully those look correct. So I'm gonna actually do it here for my website. Let's try it. Site redcanoemedia.com. So what I get here is a list of all of the pages that Google thinks I have on my site. And we'll see right here at the top that it says about 398 results. So that's probably about correct. I probably have around 400 pages total on my website. If you do this and you see that it's 398 results and you know that you have 500 products, then that's an immediate flag that there's something wrong. That Google isn't searching all of your pages or indexing all your pages correctly, and vice versa. If you get a number that's too big and you know you don't have that many pages on your site, then you could be looking at some sort of duplicate content type issues as well. The other thing that is really cool here is it shows the title tag of each piece of content on your site, and it also shows this, which is your meta description. So these things can all be updated inside of whatever system you're using, and keep those things all individual, all unique, so that somebody sees that, oh yeah, that's what I need, that's what I was looking for, click, and then they go onto your site. So the site command, one of my favorites. I tell a lot of people about it all the time because I think it's very important. Now I do have a webinar that runs on, let's see, we're doing it on Thursday. And if you haven't gone through this webinar, the 17-point SEO checklist, these are the 17 things that I check when a client calls me and says, I need SEO help. These are the 17 things that I go through, including that site command I just talked about. But definitely sign up for this webinar and jump on there and listen to all those things. And this is a great way to kind of start fixing your website up to attract more people to it. I mean, that's kind of the whole idea here. So lastly is content. And when it comes to business owners, a lot of business owners are like, I don't want to create content. I don't have time. I'm busy running my business. And, typically when they think of content, they think of blogging, and I need an article, or I have to write something. But in reality, there's a lot of different ways that you can create content for your website. Sure, you can write something, and that's probably the best way to do it, because the search engine digests all of that text and use all those words and those phrases and things that you put into an actual blog to determine what your website is about. So, it makes sense that if you're writing about 7 things you should do before, packing on a trip, if you're a travel website, it would make sense that you would write something like that. But as I mentioned earlier, you could also do video. Video is huge. It's really growing, and there are ways on YouTube and Vimeo and some of these websites to optimize the descriptions and the title of the video and things like that, where they become searchable. And if video is easier for you, then that's a terrific way to go. And I also mentioned Meerkat and Periscope earlier. There are ways to tie videos back into social efforts as well, which is pretty cool. Another thing that's really growing is podcasting. Now, podcasting is purely audio. It goes out typically to the iTunes network, and people can download your iTunes or your podcast and listen to that in your car or while they're jogging or whatever they happen to be doing. Just sitting idle, listen to them. Sometimes while I'm working, I'll put on a podcast and just listen to what some of the other experts are talking about. But this is a terrific way to reach the masses. And, another thing you could do is, do a video, take that audio out of the video and turn that into a podcast as well. So there are some ways to cross over with some of these different content creation ideas. The last one is images, and probably the least used of all of these. And typically what these are infographics, which you have probably seen. You maybe didn't even know it was called an infographic, but an infographic is a picture that typically is broken up into a couple different sections, and it has little blurbs and little interesting tidbits about whatever it is you're trying to learn about. And overall, all of these different tidbits and these little pictures come together into one document that can be shared. And typically they're shared very well because they have a lot of good information in them. And that's another way to create content. Probably, like I said, the least utilized, and from a search engine standpoint, the least popular one to use. The other ones at least have some sort of way of getting indexed, with transcriptions and things like that. But images typically aren't shared too often with, as far as search engines understanding what that image is, they typically do not. So that's kind of covers the awareness stage of everything that we're talking about. By the way, if you have any questions, anything, make sure that you pop them up into the little Q&A area over there, and I will do my best to get to every single question at the end of the training today. So let's move on to step number 2. So step 1 was to get an audience. Step 2 is to create what we call a lead magnet. And typically this is something that it does just what it says. It draws people to your business. Here's the actual description of it: an irresistible bribe offering a specific chunk of value to a prospect in exchange for their contact information. Typically, that's an email address and I'm sure you've seen these kind of things, where you go to a website and it says sign up for a free trial or download our free white papers, things like that. Basically, it's a magnet that's pulling people past the awareness stage to the consideration stage. So we want them to start thinking about doing business with you. And even if it's free, at least they're raising their hand and they're saying, yes, I want to hear a little bit more from your business or about your business. So let's look at some examples. Free book, free ebook is a great one. Free video series. In this case, this person is doing both. And all you have to do is plug in your name and email, and those things will be delivered straight to your inbox. This is a pretty common lead magnet. Another one could be a physical product. So here's a company called Survival Life, and what they're doing is they're offering this free credit card blade in exchange for an email address. And it might cost them $1 or $2, with shipping and everything to get this to you, but they're counting on that slight loss to work out in the end, because now they have your email address. They know that you're interested in things like survival, and they're going to be able to do some things that we're going to talk about in this funnel today about getting that money back on the other end. So here's Basecamp, which is a project management software. Pretty cool. Little thing here. It says, last year alone, Basecamp helped over 285,000 companies finish more than 2 million projects. Give it a try. It's free for 60 days. Wow, that's pretty cool. That might be something I need to try out. And free for 60 days. Okay, I'm in. Here's a company in St. Louis that does a free download, just a simple PDF. That's they are a company that helps people buy and sell businesses. So if you're wanting to sell your business, this might be the perfect download. Why you need to know what your business's market value really is. And all you do is click that, and in exchange, you give them your email address. They'll send that PDF to you, and they've kind of got you into their funnel and into the consideration stage. Here's one that I do personally, and that's the webinar I mentioned earlier, the 17-point SEO checklist. So I use this as a lead magnet to get people's email address. If they're interested in SEO, then it might be somebody that's interested in some services that I have. So as I mentioned earlier, typically you're exchanging value for contact information. And one of the big things related to a lead magnet is typically it needs to be something that can be consumed in 5 or so minutes. It doesn't need to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be some long document or a complete how-to of, step to step of doing something. It should be something that, they feel good for giving you their email address, and you gave them something of value in exchange. So very important that that you have a good lead magnet in place. And this is, like I said, the first step. It's important that when you have something that, when you have your site, that's somewhere in there, what's called a landing page, typically, that there are some other pieces of information besides just, hey, sign up for my free thing. Here's the business I mentioned earlier, Metro Business Advisors, and here's their lead magnet or their call to action over here on the right hand side. So, there's other information out there, but there is certainly a call to action on the page that equates to whatever that person is already reading about or came to the page, to the website in the first place. So that kind of gets people through the consideration stage. And this is where a lot of businesses miss, and they think, hey, once a company becomes, or a consumer becomes aware of me, they should just buy something from me. They should go awareness to conversion and be done. And that's not often the case. It's, that's like meeting a girl and saying, hey, you want to get married tomorrow? That's not the way it works. There has to be some dating involved, and it's no difference with doing business as well. So let's go through step number 3, which is to nurture the relationship. So now these people have come to your website and they've clicked to get your lead magnet. And the first thing you need to do, of course, is send them some sort of a welcome that tells them about your business. It's not a sales piece. This is purely something that says, I'm really glad that you signed up to get my whatever it is. And if it's something you're shipping, assure them that it's going to be sent within a day or two. And if it's an actual download, make sure that you deliver that to them right away. So these would be 2 separate emails in reality. A welcome email that's purely about your business and why, it's a feel-good indoctrination kind of email. And then, of course, deliver whatever the lead magnet was that you promised you were going to do immediately. So these 2 things need to be done right away. And then in order to kind of nurture that thing where they've raised their hand and said they want to continue to do business with you, then you need to have an ongoing email series is typically the way to do it. Since they gave you an email address, then there are other ways to do it. You could do it with direct mail, you could do it with phone calls, but those are a little bit intrusive. Email is nice because they can open it when they want to. And so you come up with a series of emails that educate them about your business and tell them a little bit more, make them feel good about your business. Nothing overly pushy or salesy or anything like that, but you set up some sort of an automation series. And this is the meat and potatoes of your funnel. It really is. Once people have raised their hand and said they want to do business with you, then you need to make sure that you keep that going while they're still excited about your business. Now, there's 2 main programs out there for doing the automation side of things. One's called ActiveCampaign and another one's called Infusionsoft. Most small businesses are going to use ActiveCampaign because of the price. It starts out at $9 a month, which is pretty nice for taking care of your email and all your automation and newsletters, things of that sort. Infusionsoft costs more money. So for a little bit bigger companies, I think there's a $500 or $1,000 setup fee involved in it. So it's very cool, very robust, but probably not the best thing for a lot of small business owners, especially with ActiveCampaign on the scene now, where it's quite different for a lot of the same kind of things going on. So now you've got them to download some sort of thing. You've delivered that to them. The next thing that you need to do is to build something called a tripwire. And I'm going to grab a drink here. A tripwire is something that moves people from consideration to conversion. And once again, these are the people that have raised their hand and already said, they're interested in what you have. Then you need to have some sort of a little offer that you can give to them. If we go back to the dating scenario, this is the first date. This is their chance to kind of see what you're all about. So, some examples could be a paid webinar, some sort of a product, like we saw that Survival Life had that free knife. Maybe they follow that up with an offer for a lighter that will light even if it's wet or something like that, and maybe that costs $10, or whatever it is. Firestone has buy one service at regular price, get the second one at a discount. You could teach a class. There's a lot of different ways to offer what's called a tripwire, and this is very important because this is basically the first step to giving them something of an offer that, you get it, they can't refuse. It's some sort of a micro transaction, and that's why I made the dollars so little here. But what it does is it gets them thinking good things about your business. So, I went from downloading something for free, it gave me great value, and now they've got this offer where I can't pass this up. It's a great offer. And of course, you have to send it to them right away and make sure that everything works well on your end. If it's a physical type product or a service or something like that, you need to live up to your end of the bargain. But it really creates in their head a good feeling about your business. And this is once again where a lot of businesses miss, and they think that they could go from the meeting to the marriage stage, and they're missing this step. And this is critical to a lot of things. So I put a little check mark there. Maybe you make a little bit of money, maybe not. The idea is obviously to make some money, but to get in that person's head that if I give that company money, they are going to deliver to me, which is exactly the kind of thing you want them thinking. So we'll call that a mini conversion. We'll call that a good thing. Maybe you'll only make $7 or $20 off of it, but the happiness level is worth it. So that brings us to number 5. And number 5 is, I kind of already alluded to it. Number 5 is to over deliver. So whatever it is that they are purchasing in the tripwire, make sure that you give them a little bit more than what you told them you were going to give them, which is always a good thing. Typically that is a free bonus. It's some little extra something that they weren't expecting. And, it just really cements the deal when it comes to them thinking good things about your business. And here's a lady that I did business with, and she's very excited about downloading the tripwire or getting that in the mail or whatever it is. Here's a business in St. Louis that does free lifetime sharpening. This is awesome. When somebody gets, in this case, they're selling knives. When somebody buys a knife from them, this is a really cool little bonus that maybe they weren't expecting. Another way to do it is maybe do a video. If you're selling bikes, then give them some free free tips on how to keep your bike in great condition, how to change the size or the height of the seat, all these different things. If you are a lawn care business, maybe you might want to give them some tips on what to do around various situations, how to keep care of your grass in different situations. The idea here is to give them some advantage or some extra little piece that they weren't expecting. Here's a company called Hey Group that sends out a string of emails that are how-tos on different things related to whatever their customers are purchasing. So these are all really cool little ways to over-deliver beyond what people were expecting. So here we are with the funnel as I've been talking about it today, the awareness stage, the consideration stage, and the conversion stage. Another way that you could look at that is the lead magnet, the tripwire, and then the core offer. So your core offer is whatever it is you're really trying to get that person to get to, whether that's your service, whether that is your product or products or something. It's whatever you're trying to do. It is the marriage step, I guess you could say. in the situation. So getting people through that to the core offer is obviously the idea behind all of this in the first place. So that brings us to number 6, which is to ask for the core sale. And I'm always surprised, the other way around, how many businesses don't ask for the sale, or they're kind of afraid to. And there are ways to do it. There are also ways not to do it. I should probably put a big no here. This is not the greatest way to go about asking for the sale. But there are ways to tell customers that are coming to your site or that are downloading your Tripwire, or I'm sorry, downloading your lead magnet, purchasing your Tripwire. There are ways to give them that next step. And for some, they're going to be very excited about going ahead and doing that. Others may take a little nurturing to get to that step. But if you don't have calls to action on your site or in your newsletter or things of that sort, then you're basically missing one of the hugest steps in there, which is getting them to take your core offer, or consider your core offer, which would be your conversion. So it's definitely something that a lot of businesses, for some reason, don't ask for, especially if they've got So let's move on to number 7, which is maximize the relationship. So we've dated, and we've married. They bought the core offer. They got exactly whatever my service was that I was hoping them to get. Now what I want to do is I want to maximize that. And I'm sure you've heard the saying before that goes something along the lines of the easiest customers to get are the ones you already have. Some houses, your products, it's very possible that they're just waiting for you to tell them about something else that you have. Maybe it's just that they're waiting on you, or you're not top of mind to them. So a simple reminder might be just what they need to jump back on and purchase something else. Typical way is the upsell or the cross sell, which people, of course, they know about. McDonald's is great at it. Do you want to upsell, or do you want to move that up to a medium or a large? A sneak peek, if you have something new coming up, maybe a sneak peek that's a great way to kind of give people an opportunity to see what you have available that maybe not everybody else can see yet, or not everybody else can get a hold of. So always a good thing to have some sort of a sneak peek on there. And another one that we see a lot is the good old car wash. This is a great example of offering some sort of a profit maximizer. And not only the good, better, best, but down below, if you see they have the monthly, which is unlimited, that's an even better deal. So I can get the best car wash for $12, or for the cost of 3 visits, I can have an unlimited amount for an entire month. It's a no-brainer. If you're somebody that likes to wash their car once a week or something, that's the best way to go. This is the great example of a profit maximizer, or getting the most out of your funnel. And it's very important. So, another way to do it is to create another product and basically get people back into the top of the funnel again. Get them moving back through the funnel for a new service line or a new product that you're wanting to offer. So there's a lot of different ways to build your funnel, but let's go back through the steps, and then I want to get to everybody's questions. First, get an audience. Lots of different ways to do that. Some are free, some cost money. If you haven't jumped onto the 17-point SEO webinar, I'll send a link out afterwards to that, but make sure that you jump on that and watch it. I think it's only about 35 minutes long. It's not a real long one. So create a lead magnet. This is pretty huge to get people that are visiting your site, to do something. I was looking at a website the other day that was getting 2,000 visits a month, but only about 20 people a month were filling out the form to contact this business. So that's 1%. So the other 99% of those visitors were basically doing nothing. So we created a lead magnet for them. If they're coming to that website and they're somewhat interested in whatever it is, that they landed there in the first place, this is a great way for us to increase that percentage beyond 1%. Maybe it takes a little nurturing to them, but if they're in research mode and they're looking at 3 or 4 different sites and they sign up for your lead magnet, then you have the opportunity to go back and talk to those people again to get some more branding in front of them, whereas maybe some of the others don't. They came to their website and they left. So nurture the relationship. Very important that you take the time to deliver exactly what you said and to give them the good feeling. Build a tripwire. This cements the relationship when it comes to trading money for services or products. I'm sorry. Number 5, over deliver. Very important that you really make them feel good about your business. Make sure that somewhere there that you ask for the course sale. And then number 7, maximize that relationship. There are a lot of different opportunities where maybe you did not ask for that final sale. So lots of steps, lots of things going on when it comes to building out your funnels. And it's not something that you can do in just one day. This is something that kind of takes some time to get all of these steps in place. So not everybody has a checklist or something that they can go by to get all these. Not everybody has a guide that shows them how to get it done. And if you were to pay somebody, this by the way is not me, but if you were to pay someone to help you build a funnel, it could be in the $4 to $8 grand range. I've even seen a business that won't even do anything for less than 10 grand. They'll help you build your funnel for $10,000. I mean, not a lot of businesses have that kind of money. So what I did is I created an entire course of how to build your funnel from start to finish, and wanted to tell you a little bit about that today. It's a 5-week course, and basically we're going to go through everything. We're going to go through how to build your lead magnet. We'll go back and forth with some ideas on how to build that. I'll help you get it onto your website, create some sort of a call to action. I'll help you actually get the tripwire in place to see that all those things are going on. We'll help build out all the automation. I'll show you what software I use to help build those funnels out. And, I'll help you create the engagement series that gets people through your funnel to whatever the final product is or service is. So you can see the URL down there at the bottom. I'm probably going to offer this for $997 at some point when it's really fleshed out really well. That's what it's going to cost. But since you're on the webinar today, and I wanted to thank you first of all for being on the webinar and give you an opportunity to get into this course for just $297. And we're going to be starting this later on. I think it starts September. So we're going to be starting in September, I think the 16th, and it's going to be 5 weeks. There's going to be Q&A. There's going to be engagement. This is the full deal, how to do it from, step by step. So take advantage of this offer because, like I said, next time around, it's probably going to be in the $997 range. But thank you. I wanted to make sure that we get to all the questions that we have. So give me a minute here and if you have any questions about anything so far, make sure you plug them in there, and I'll make sure to answer them. Okay, what was number 4 after the tripwire? Let me go back, and you might have actually got it by now when I did the recap, but I will show you the entire 7 steps real quick here. And that's not me, I promise. There we go. So number 4 actually was build the tripwire. Number 5 is over deliver. So I'm not exactly sure where which one you missed, but there you go. There's all 7 steps. Let's see what other questions we've got. Are lead magnets always free? So yes, typically lead magnets are either free or just a couple bucks. I mean, really, at that point, you're not really wanting to ask for any money. This typically a lead magnet is a checklist or access to a video or something that teaches them something. Typically, it's free because, and it may even be something that's at a loss. I know of a guy who, for some reason, was in the candle making business, and he was selling the wax and all this stuff. And what he found is that he could sell his wicks, in quantity to somebody that wanted to make candles, and maybe sell the entire thing at a loss of $1 or $2, or offer them free with purchase of any kit or something like that. But he really did very well on that once he started to offer those, and it really kind of upset some of the other candle makers for obvious reasons, but great way to do it. And typically, yes, the lead magnets are free. Okay, let's see what else we got here. How much are the templates? Oh, so the templates on Template Monster and Theme Forest are typically in the $50 to $75 range. They're not terribly expensive. I mean, some of that depends on what CMS you're using or what system you're using in the first place. If you're using WordPress, then you're right in there in the $60 to $70 range. I would definitely be careful and make sure that if you did get any sort of template, that you got one that was responsive, and that means mobile friendly, which Google came out earlier this year and said, if sites are not mobile friendly, they're going to be penalized. So we are starting to see some things about that happening, and it's definitely something to consider. So just make sure that when you're looking at those sites that you check mark the box that says, I only want to see responsive themes. But typically they're in that range. I think the Joomla ones are similar to that. The Drupal ones are about the same. If you're using something like Magento, which is an e-commerce platform, those may be upwards of $100, $200. But overall, for a quick way to change the look and feel of your site, templates are a great way to go. And I should say, when you buy a template from somebody like Template Monster or Theme Forest, you're not just going to put it on there and everything's going to be pretty and work great. There is some work involved in uploading your logo, changing colors, things, modifying things so that it looks right. It's not going to be as pretty immediately as what they show on those sort of sites. So that's definitely something to make sure that you know about. Let's see, got a question. Melody asks, is the funnel course online? Yes, the entire thing will be online. It will be every Wednesday, and anybody who signs up will have access to all of the videos, so you can go back, you can see the different videos, you can go back through them, you can email me if you have questions, but yes, it will be an online course. Good question. All right, let's see. How long should a blog post be? So we're talking specifically about the content part of building a funnel. Typically, a blog post at a minimum 450 words, and I'm talking that's really the minimum. There are a lot of things out right now about long content really being worth writing, and the conversion rates are higher. And I'm talking about 1,000-word, 1,500-word articles, more of like how-tos and things of that sort, with screenshots or how-to videos, or, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But these sorts of pieces of content are really starting to show up a lot more in the search engines, which is terrific. Obviously, that's free traffic. Once you write the article, if somebody likes your article, that's kind of, you could call it free traffic, which is great. There's also something called that Google has called time to long click. And they're not telling us what they're considering a long click, but we're assuming it's somewhere in the 50-second plus range. And what that is if somebody looks up blue widgets and they go to the first result that Google gave them, and then they click the back button, within, let's say, 20 seconds, they click the back button. Google knows that they came back and that they clicked on the second result. And they might have went to that website, decided that isn't what exactly they were looking for. They clicked that back button again, so they came back to Google. Google sees that, and then they go to the third website, and then they don't come back. So for whatever reason, that third website probably answered that person's question or gave that person the information they were looking for. And Google calls that a long click. And they're watching those sort of things now when it comes to how they're going to rank those pages. So it may be that third result, if they keep seeing that happen, and that third result may get moved up to the first, even though it's not the most optimized site or the most optimized page. If it seeming to be answering the questions that people have, or they're not coming back to Google after looking at that, then they're going to use that in their overall algorithms. Once again, which is pretty insane with all the things that they're watching. But that is the long drawn out answer to how long should your blog be. 650 words is probably about average. But if you can write long content without droning on and on about nothing, if you can really put in some good meat and potatoes type stuff, then you're going to get rewarded with the search engines from that. So definitely worth knowing. Let's see. Would an ebook be a good lead magnet? So I've had this question before. Typically, an ebook is not the best lead magnet in the world because it's not something people can consume in 5 minutes. And what you're really after is that you're after that quick hit or that quick high with them in your business and your brand. And an ebook tends to, require somebody to sit down and focus and pay attention and for a long period of time, in long period of time in internet world, could be 15, 20 minutes. But yeah, so an ebook, probably not a good lead magnet, might be a good tripwire. Another way that I'm starting to see a lot of gurus do things is that they will have a physical book printed, and they will use the PDF version as their tripwire, or the Kindle version. And then when the physical version gets printed, they will send that to you. And what they'll do is they'll say, sign up for my book before it's even out, before it's even printed. All you pay for is the shipping. And the shipping is, $7 or something like that. I think I paid 10 for one, which they probably didn't pay $10 to ship that book to me. So they may be making a couple bucks off of it, maybe just enough to cover the printing and the book. But what they'll do is they'll deliver the Kindle version beforehand, so the person can go ahead and start getting into the book and reading it and feel like they got something special that not everybody else got because the book isn't even out yet. And then when the physical one comes out, they'll send it to you, a couple weeks later. So that might be a better way to approach the ebook. Maybe give it free and offer a printed version for the price of shipping only or something. That might be a better way to go. So let's see what other questions we have here. How long is the course? Oh, the course is 5 weeks. So we're going to start on September 16th. And every Wednesday, we're going to do a new part of the funnel. And then the 5th week will be going back and making sure that there aren't any questions, that there aren't anything we missed, and then talking a little bit about the profit maximizer or ways to increase making the money from that funnel as well. So yeah, 5 weeks total. So, and that looks like all the questions that I have. There's one more here. What if you don't sell widgets? If you're not physically selling something, you're probably still, you're selling a service, maybe not a physical product, but you are selling a service. So there are ways to show people your past work, things of that sort. There are other ways to get around the idea of, I mean, I don't sell any physical product either. I sell all service, and it's all things that I do that, that end up better for the businesses. So, yeah, so there are ways around that as well. So listen, thanks a lot for being on the training today. I hope that you got something good out of it. I kept it under an hour, which is awesome. I was worried about that a little bit. And if you get a minute, jump on the funnel course page and sign up for that. We're going to start on September 16th. And once we start, there will be no more ability to enter that. And I'm probably going to cut it off after a certain amount of people sign up too, because I don't want to be overwhelmed with too many people. So if you're thinking about jumping on, make sure you do that. And other than that, I hope you have a terrific rest of your day, and enjoy the rest of the day. Take care. Bye-bye.